58, 59. Shit, lost count. Eight, 59. Shit, lost count.
Hey, do you like drinking? Do you like vaping? Do you like to cuss? And this show is for you. It's Battle Axe Theater.
Battle Axe Theater. That's a good name.
Battle Axes. Battle Axe, man. He brought the preach. Yo.
Battle Axe Theater.
Death from Battle Axe. I don't know if you guys have seen, he just rants, and it's awesome. And he just starts screaming and yelling. I need to have a beer with that guy. Oh, hey.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I want to. Can I start off, Punk?
Yeah, go ahead.
I almost didn't make it tonight, man. This has been a Monday from hell. Just as we were talking before the stream, my day at work, bro. I'm ready to like break this keyboard. I'm ready to smash this window. I'm ready to, bash my head into the wall. So, yeah, man, and yeah, go ahead. I'll shut up now.
Can we get some love for Def in the chat? What is up, everybody? I'm Punkshoe. I'm here with my grumpy boy, Def.
Yay! Thanks for coming, everybody.
Together we are Battle Axe Theater. And on this fine episode of Battle Axe Live tonight, we're going to be talking about a topic that we've discussed quite a bit in the Discord through some of our late night Saturday evening discussions. And that is forced content. And how the relationship between that forced content influences that relationship between players and the creators, developers. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. And I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm mostly looking forward to finishing my cup of water so that way I can pour my beer into that said cup. So, yeah, it's going to be a good thing tonight. I'm really glad that we were able to get this going because we almost had to cancel again tonight. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I've been having some bad tooth problems and been keeping me up and stuff like that, but we'll talk about that here in this segment. So you want to go ahead and get started with our review?
Let's just jump into it, bro.
Let's just jump into it. It's the weekend review. Woo, doggy. Woo! Yeah. This is the weekend review, folks. This is where we talk about what we've done for the last week, or in our case tonight, the last couple of weeks. Because we are a Monday stream, not a Friday stream, so we got to talk about what we did in the past because we don't know what the future holds for us. Apparently, murder hornets. But
yeah.
So, do you want to start us off? Besides, you want to talk about your day to day, you can. But tell us a little bit more about what you've been up to, Def.
Well, I want to throw this out there. Because I've had a bad day. I came home and I was seeing all this buzz about the new Assassin's Creed, Brawlhalla. I'm sorry, Valhalla. Brawlhalla is a game I play. But I was a big fan of the Assassin's Creed game, man, and they're doing Viking now, so sign me up and expect me to play that during the holiday seasons because that's their launch date. But man, I haven't been up to a whole lot. I got some new gear. I got the Rode mic Micro. Been testing that out a little bit, getting some test footage. Trying to test some 4K footage on a cell phone just to see how that looks. So
I've been pretty impressed, by the way, with the samples you've sent me.
Yeah. So I've been doing that. And other than that, man, we both kind of were kind of down in the dumps last week. So I really didn't do jack last week. Had my friend Carlos over, and he built his gaming rig.
Right.
And so we finally got together and we played some games together. Got him set up on Discord, showed him the ropes because he's new to PC gaming in general. And we played Call of Duty. And we suck and we lost and we hated it, but we still played it, and it's okay. Let me pull up my notes. I don't I finished I'm gonna get this right. Heart of Thorns.
Yes.
Storyline and Guild Wars, and holy shitballs.
Telling you, man, I think those stories are so good. So many people are complacent and they complain about how, they have to pay for that content. And the thing is if you've owned the game for years and you at least just log in during, at that update, you get that story for free. But it's totally worth paying for. I've paid for all my story for the most part because we only played for like 2 months and then we took like a 2.5 year break.
Yeah.
But the story's so good.
I gotta say, we both come from old school MMO backgrounds. And I get why people wouldn't like Guild Wars. The ease, the gobs of loot, the fast travel, the zerging, all that stuff. But if you don't play it for any other reason, once you get to Heart of Fear, man, that storyline gets damn good. And I'm gonna not lie, I didn't really pay attention to every scene in the vanilla story. But bro, it got my attention now. Like I'm all in. I can't wait to start Path of Fire.
The vanilla like core Tyria story was very generic. It was kind of like your typical MMORPG. I do like the different elements with you can choose to help the scrits or you can help the giants or whatever. And then you've got the other, or ogres, and then you also have the option to choose Priory, which uses their smarts to solve problems. Whispers, which allows you to be sneaky, stealthy, get intel type of solution. And then you've got the Vigil, which just smashes shit. And I do like how you get those options. And I've chosen all 3 options with different characters. And I've enjoyed them quite a bit. I have 2 characters, one on Whispers and one on Priory, that haven't done the last storyline yet. So I'm kind of curious how that plays out. It's going to be interesting for core Tyria. Right now, I'm on Living World Season 4. I just started that, where we start to go deal with the whole... Well, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah. Man, but dude, I gotta say, like, the story has really sucked me in.
It's really good.
I thought, and we're gonna talk a little bit about story tonight.
Yeah, we are.
On forced content. But bro, I I didn't think anything was going to top the Final Fantasy 14 story.
So
But
good.
dude, this is close. It really is.
Yeah. It's a pretty good story, man. Both of them
Oh.
are.
What'd you do this
the-
past 2 weeks? Sorry.
I've been nursing a toothache. I had a tooth that broke off probably about 8 months ago now, and just started irritating me and got infected and stuff. And what sucked, dude, is like I was fine, and then we went to have our meeting the Sunday before last, and we couldn't even have like a full meeting. We got together for like 15-20 minutes. It was hurting so bad I couldn't even talk. And then Monday came around. Sorry about not being able to stream last week, guys. This COVID thing is making it difficult. A lot of the dentist offices are closed and shit. So
Yeah.
I had to dig up my insurance information. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get to a dentist this week and get it pulled or something, which may have some impact on next week's stream. But I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. I've never had a tooth pulled. But I'm okay now. The swelling that was here this morning, that was real bad, is gone. And here we are. But I didn't get any sleep last night because of it. So I'm running on like a 2-hour nap overnight and a 2-hour nap just before the stream. So I apologize for the morning voice here.
Trooper.
But yeah, enough of my bitching about my shitty tooth pain. I've been playing a lot of Guild Wars 2. I started a second account. If you guys aren't aware, Guild Wars 2 is running like a half off anniversary thing right now. So you can get Path of Fire for $14.99. It includes Heart of Thorns and the core game. And they're also including the prologue for the newest like DLC patch, if you will. You can get that for free as well. And they've got a couple of other goodies that are free on their store. So it ended up being cheaper. Instead of buying 5 character slots on my main account, I just made a second account with 5 character slots. And I'm going to utilize those character slots for things like, I just did a speed run. So I made a character yesterday morning at about 7 a.m. And I finished up earlier today in about 12 hours. Oh, yeah, that's right. I told you. It was exactly 12 hours and 1 minute. I was able to go from 1 to 80 through a non-traditional means. So it was pretty interesting. And I had a lot of fun doing it. Now I have another character that I can utilize to help bring in income for my main account. So it's a different game, man. It's not like we're used to where like you have a few characters or whatever that you main. Like you almost like having an extra character. Like it's not unheard of for people to have 15 max level characters because it doesn't take you long to level.
Yeah,
like,
it definitely doesn't.
It's one of those games that the meat and potatoes of the game truly is at the end game. Like there's some stuff that takes place during the leveling process. There is a little bit of exploration, but you really experience the bulk of the content once you've hit max level, just because there's so much to do at max level. Let's see. So we played some Guild Wars 2. If you guys aren't following on Twitter, please check out the Twitter. We're BattleAxe Theater, no spaces, dashes, at BattleAxe Theater on Twitter. I did tweet out a photo of my office sort of kind of coming together. So redid the acoustic panels and put them over top of some half-inch foam. So I've got half-inch foam insulation, and they actually are level now, and they look pretty good. And then I ran some tracks above that, and then above my workspace over here, and then below it, the padding over here, and it's got like a diffusion layer on it, and I put LED strips in it. So I've got an LED backlight that kind of glows up the ceiling and glows down my desk space. It's pretty sick. And then I got to use my old backlights my old LEDs that I had behind the monitors back there. That's only one of them, so I got 2 more to put back there, and we'll have a nice little red glow. And then I'm thinking by the end of May, I should have a video together, because it's just one of those things where, you know, when you do projects like this, you run into little things that you gotta kind of go back to the drawing board on, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to have a video together. I did get my camera lenses in a couple months ago, so I've got some camera improvements. You guys will see some changes in the stream probably next week, just, you know, with some backdrop and quality of my video. I ordered some camera components to make moving the G7 from the tripod to the computer much more efficient.
Okay.
And then
it's just nothing with the surprise you ordered for bad, is it?
yeah.
Is that it?
That's gonna be part of it. So the camera is part of it. There is like you already told you about that.
Yeah.
But I got something that's gonna be for the stream in the background, and yeah, we'll see.
Okay. I'm trying to get the surprise out of you, bro.
Well, you'll get the surprise. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. I've never ordered products like this before, so I might get here and I'll be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So Guild Wars 2 Toothache finishing the remodeling. Kids are still home. Murder Hornets. I don't understand. Locusts are next, maybe. Rain of Fire. I'm not sure when the 7th plague comes.
Yeah.
That's Death of the Firstborn, right?
Are we talking biblical?
Biblical, dude.
Okay. I gotta hide my dog.
Yeah, I gotta hide my son. Oh, that's another thing I did too. Went birthday shopping, online birthday shopping. But he's gonna have a good birthday. Can't say what he's getting because he might be watching or listening. But I've been helping him with his YouTube lately and getting him into actual video editing.
Yeah, I saw you streaming Fortnite events the other day.
It's pretty cool. And I don't know, maybe we'll have him on sometime or something. Who knows? But that's it, man. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Pretty much the same shit we always do. So you want to talk a little bit about some news today?
Let's get into the news, dude.
Sweet news bits.
And now it's time for the Nerd News! Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to this part of the program where we discuss all things technology, comic books, film, art, and more.
Woo! The news. This is actually this is my favorite segment. We get to talk about some fun stuff.
We get to nerd out, man.
Yeah, we do. So, yeah, we've got some interesting topics. Some of these are left over from last week, so they're a little bit older, but I think it's still important to discuss. And some new cool stuff that came out for you Canon users out there who have your DSLRs. But how about them U.F.Os?
Oh, okay. So, I'm sure everybody watching is aware that the Pentagon released this U.F.O footage. So it's official from the Pentagon, and it's not a big deal. I mean, like, no one responded to it like, "Oh my God, UFOs are real."
Right.
Like it's like no one gave a shit. And I just wanted. I didn't want to bring this up in the news segment for that, just for the sake that it's out there, official by the Pentagon. But the fact that no one gave a shit, and I think the reason why is, dude, these videos have been on the internet for years now. Like it's like, okay, Pentagon, we know, like, duh, we've all seen these videos. But the main thing is, I'm a big fan of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and he had Tom DeLonge from Blink 182 on, and everybody thought Tom was batshit crazy, including myself. I don't think I finished the podcast, and it's a short one for the Joe Rogan podcast. It's like an hour and some change. But man, I was like, this guy's out of his mind. So I'm guilty of him talking about UFOs and how the U.S. Navy or whoever it was has footage and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, you're crazy. See you later. I'm going to go swim else. But in the description, we'll have the official article from the New York Times and the video of Tom DeLonge going off on UFOs. So for people who don't know, Tom left Blink 182 to pursue his I want to call it conspiracy work, but he's big into conspiracy theories. He's big into UFOs.
So is he like trying to disprove these conspiracy theories, or is he trying to prove them?
He's trying to prove them, man. Like the dude
okay.
is kind of out there. And I don't mean any offense to people who believe in a lot of the stuff that he goes on to say. But yeah, it's a 17-minute video, so if you're bored and you just have some time, it'll be in the description down below as well as the real article. But
I have a question about this real quick.
Okay.
Is the footage this like little black smudge that's like in the level indicator of a plane? Is that what the really?
Yeah. And if you watch it, that sucker goes pew pew pew.
Huh.
And it's, these freaking pilots that have, and apparently they have been seeing these things for about 5 years.
So this is an old footage that was classified that had to be released after 50 years because of the freedom of documentation or whatever the fucking law is, right? Like this is modern footage?
This is the footage that you see, I think, is 5 years ago.
Jesus. Okay.
Tom DeLonge was trying to get it out there. That's his mission. Like, I don't know what his company or branding is, but that's his goal, is to get all this information out there. And he did this 2 years ago. And now here we are, 2020.
Well,
hey, this is officially real. And the whole world's like, meh. Okay.
Well, I mean, what better time to release it? You release it during a pandemic, so people aren't really like that surprised by it, and they're just like whatever. But at the same time, it takes a little bit of the attention away from the pandemic. Like it's like perfect timing, a little too perfect, maybe. I don't know. But
no, but
they're among us here, dude. They're here. They already live among us. Like they're best buds with the lizard people. I'm telling you, like. Us humans, we probably make up like 20% of the population.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. I think there's invisible aliens. I mean, like, the technology that other planets have around us, man. But I don't know, man. We're all in a simulation, and we'll get into that in the future. But this is what the simulation has for us. We discover real-life UFOs, so that's what's going on right now.
Sarah, we'll have to check that out because that's pretty interesting. If you got a link or something, I don't know if you can drop it in the YouTube comments, but feel free to drop a link to that video breakdown in the YouTube comments, or if you're in the Discord, just drop it right into the random stuff channel. That'd be cool. So moving on to our next topic. We've been trying to avoid COVID related stuff. Like we really have been. And the issue with that, though, is some new information has been discovered with relation to COVID that has had me a little bit worried about our fan base and our viewer base. Most of the people that watch our content are between the ages of 25 and 45, and it's been discovered that COVID actually does affect patients in other ways other than the typical side effects. And one of those ways that it's affecting people is through stroke. So the article that's listed in the description, and again, if you guys are interested in following any of this along, all the information is linked in the description for those sources that we've got that we're using for information tonight. Feel free to pull those up and follow along with us. But there's been some doctors that have basically seen an increase of young people having full-fledged strokes. So we're talking full-on major strokes, and then they're tested, and when they're tested, they turn out to be COVID positive. And it's not like an official thing, but there is one of the doctors in that article basically said that it's cause for concern, because it's definitely not just like a correlation thing. There is some evidence of causation. So definitely check out that article. I think it's very interesting. For those of you who may be concerned, stroke symptoms include like face drooping, because stroke cuts off the blood flow to the brain. So usually, you'll get like part of your face starts to droop. Typically on that same side, you'll feel some like numbness in your arm, or just general overall like weakness in your arm or your leg or both. And if you experience those symptoms and you're also having difficulty, like you have like brain fog and you're not able to articulate speech and you're not able to come up with, like it just seems like speech is extremely difficult, like making your mouth make the words, definitely go to a hospital like immediately, because COVID is a real thing. I personally think it's just going to end up being like influenza. I think it's going to be something that we see on a regular basis, because I don't think, I mean, at least in recent times, we're not going to be able to nip it in the bud. But I've been worried. I know you, Def, had said that you've been experiencing some like brain fog and stuff like that, and that's when I read this. That's one of the reasons why I brought it up to you last week, because I was a little worried about you.
I get anxiety too, man, because in my line of work, I work with the prime candidates for COVID. I mean, I work with the elderly, disabled people, and so I'm out there repairing equipment that we have to disinfect and face to face with these people. So I get a little paranoid even if I have one slight symptom, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I mean, that's understandable, because, I mean, it'd be really awful if you were to have it and be a carrier and not have, asymptomatic, and then you get one of your patients sick, and, that's just real shitty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that would be just super shitty.
Kind of scary, but... My state is reopening too, and everybody's like, let's go to a restaurant. And I'm like,
Well, we had a talk about this last night with Reeve in Discord.
Yeah.
where we talked about, we're kind of in this position where like these other countries like China, they're a social state, they're run by the government. So they have the ability to put people on lockdown. But we're such a capitalistic society over here. Like, we can't have a government shutdown and still be functional as a country. It just doesn't work, because we work so, like, most of what we do is money oriented.
Yep.
And it's kind of sad if you think about it. But at the same time, it's like you can't afford to shut down your business because your entire livelihood, everything you've worked for, is gone. So I can understand the excitement for reopening the business. But I just think people the CDC needs to, they're already doing a pretty good job, but they need to be more like, foot down about certain things on what you need to do, because like there's that whole joke going around the internet, it's okay to, you're not allowed to go out because everything's closed, except for you're allowed to go out if you need to go out to those places that are probably not closed, and you should wear a mask, but you don't have to wear a mask, but you should wear a mask. There's a lot of confusion out there, and it's tons of suck. It's just tons of suck. But anyway, we're gonna move on from this shit topic, because everybody knows what's going on with COVID. So if you feel like you're feeling any stroke-like symptoms, or anybody in the the 25 to 45 age range that's experiencing things like that, they're just having some issues that are out of the norm, have them go get tested at the bare minimum. And if they're feeling strokey, get them to a hospital, because stroke can ruin you for life. It can completely mess you up.
Yep.
So, moving on to my tech topic today, because I know you're going to be talking a little bit about some of the game news tonight. My tech topic, which I thought was very interesting, is I just recently started following Epos Vox. I've watched his videos for years, here and there, especially trying to get set up for streaming like what we do. And if you guys aren't familiar, Epos Vox is kind of like he's like the Linus Tech Tips of setting up streaming and streaming gear reviews and things like that. So you should check him out. The link in the description regarding this particular topic that we're talking about tonight, but you can get his channel info from there. He uses a lot of Sony cameras, and it's like, okay, well, we have a Panasonic, which the G7 is a camera that it's been extremely acceptable as far as cameras are concerned for doing what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a Canon DSLR, and I too have a Canon DSLR, and we noticed that they really sucked ass. They didn't have a really good utility for us to utilize them as webcams, and we've tried several methods. And if you guys go back and look at some of our older videos, please do. They were shot on Canons, and it was a little rough because they take amazing pictures, but their video is just, it's a little lackluster. And what we had to do is we had to capture through software that gave us like a preview that was designed to like hit a button to take a picture on the computer. But we were utilizing that as a preview and then capturing that small preview in OBS and then having to blow it up from like a 720p to 1080. Well, Canon, in light of everything that's going on, one second, I gotta sneeze.
Fuck you! I'm hoping I timed that right.
I got the mic muted on time, so you heard it, but they didn't.
Okay, awesome.
But anyway, the Canon, I think you did time it right, by the way. The Canons that we utilize now have the capability, in the midst of everything that's going on right now, they finally put out a utility called the Eos Webcam Utility, and Epos Vox kind of goes through that in the video that's linked in the description. It allows you to utilize your Canon camera that takes amazing photos, and you can get 720p video out of it. But it's something. I mean, it's better than a webcam. So at 720p, you definitely have, better aperture control, better white balance control, things like that. It's just the resolution, because the 720p won't look as crisp and clear. And I'm sure there's ways that you can fix that in like a post-production environment. But I just thought it was really cool because now you can utilize that. It's in like an alpha state right now or a beta state. But hopefully within the next few months or whatever, it'll be in a position where you can finally use your Canon camera the way it was intended to be utilized with video versus doing what we were doing, because that was fucking ghetto.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to see a lot of YouTubers and streamers switching to Canon for that?
I don't, because DSLRs are just not designed for video, so that they don't have the frame rate capabilities and things like that. So I just think it's like, there are a lot of photo enthusiasts, and my Canon is not my Canon, it's my wife's Canon. So that's why we have one in the household. And I know you guys bought one for you guys to do photography with, and it just so happened that we were able to use them for video. So it was kind of like a stopgap for a little while there.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think that's going to really take off. I still think your Panasonics and your Sonys are really your production cameras, and then for photography, Canon and Nikon is where it's at. But I don't know. I love my Panasonic. We'll see how it does.
Panasonic too.
The 2 new lenses I got make it really nice. It just sucks that they're manual lenses, but been able to get a much better low light, because if you can see here, there's like a lot of grain in this picture from this webcam, and we experience the same thing. We have to go and do a lot of noise reduction when I'm recording for videos. Well, with these new lenses, there's no need for that, because it lets a lot more light in, so it looks really good. So, but that's it. Check that out. Give it a read. It's a Verge article. I'm not really super fond of Verge ever since their How to Build a Computer video came out, which was a complete pile of trash. But they're tech news, and they can give you the basics of it. In the description, so it says Canon now lets you use its cameras as a webcam with amazing video quality, and that was the issue I took with the article, because it's not amazing. It's just it's good, but it's 720p good. But yeah, that's it. So I'm excited about this last topic because I didn't get into it at all, and I'm hoping that maybe you can disclose a little bit to me or explain a little bit to me. So take it away on this last topic.
All right, the next topic is Defend the Night. Did a live stream. Well, Lexer from Defend the Night, which we know Lexer pretty well. He was on. How do you say that name again? Smirk. He was on his show, and the link will be in the description down below. And they break down the wizard class, man. And Lexer being Lexer, man, he got me so freaking pumped. So, and I don't want to like go through every single aspect of the stream, but
Right.
you know, they kind of talk about the classic wizard take, and I want to talk about Defend the Knight's attitude on their development on classes, and I'll get to that here in a
You
second.
hear that, Scribbles? We're going to talk about your attitude.
But it's a good attitude, by the way, so don't leave. You know, Lexer got into how he started out playing a Necro, and then for most of his MMO career, he was a tank. But why didn't he start a Necro or anything else in a new game? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the way they were, or he was kind of spinning it is, you know, like, we want to know the things that you would want in that class, you know. And I guess this is a good time to say the Enchanter is up next. So we got the Shadow Knight, Cleric, and Wizard for Defend the Night. And up next is the Enchanter. And I thought it was really freaking cool how they had an Enchanter roundtable for anyone that wanted to join, whether you played Enchanter or you did not play Enchanter. And if you want to play Enchanter, what are some of the abilities you would like to see in an Enchanter to make you want to play an Enchanter? And that goes back to the stream with Lexer talking about the Wizard class and some of this abilities, the breakdown. For example, they go into the Wizard and EverQuest and how, you know, it was a big hitting, big nuke class,
Right.
but you would cast your spells and you would have to sit down and med, you know. And Defend the Knight's going to have mana management and all that kind of thing, but they want it to be fun. And Lexer said one thing in the stream that really stood out to me is like, you see this big freaking spell that hits the mob, you know it's from the wizard, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just something kind of cool, and they're sticking to I don't know. And Scribbles, you can correct me on this in chat if I'm wrong, but it's almost like they're making it fun, but sticking with the traditional roots of a wizard. You know, you got your fire and ice spells, you get your portals, stuff like that make it fun. And in the description, there'll be a link to the Defend the Night wizard video, and it kind of breaks down their abilities and whatnot.
I'm going to watch that tonight while I'm doing some Guild Wars grinding because I am curious. And Scribbles and Lex and the rest of Defend the Night guys, I would want to apologize for not being up to snuff on Defend the Night. I'm going to be doing some research this week, and hopefully we can get you guys on here soon once I catch up a little bit on what's going on because I'm interested. I've been watching some of the video clips and stuff that you've posted on Twitter, and this roundtable thing is very interesting. I like games developers that really are in tune with their player base. Mm-hmm. So and I am curious, Scribbles, like that take of the whole roundtable discussion, is that something that you guys intend to go forward with pretty much in development of all the classes, or is that just something that you needed assistance for a particular one? So, you know, let me know. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if you guys, I'm sure most of people watching, maybe not, are following Defend the Night. But if you aren't, follow them on Twitter. Every weekend, I believe every Saturday, they post a build update, and you know they showcase what they've been working on for the week, and that's a weekly basis. And you just don't get that in a lot of indie devs. You know what I mean? Like, whether it looks good or not, you know, they're going to show what they have been working on, and I think that's what, you know, people that are interested in your game.
That's what I want.
Yeah, people that are interested in your game, they want to see what you've been working on, and like last weekend, sorry, I'm getting confused because we're on a Monday here, but they were working on NPCs and stuff, and they showcase that, just little things, little nuggets every week really gets my blood going. I'm like, okay, this wizard looks pretty cool. If I play Defend the Night, I might play a wizard, but I don't know what I'm kind of curious to see what the Enchanter's like now. So
yeah, I'm interested. I've always been a big fan of like Warframe showing like loading shit up and it crashing in the middle of a stream or whatever, or just shit not working. Watching Rebecca go to get on a mount that was about to come out for getting across the plains of Eidolon, and as soon as she clicked to jump on it, it exploded and blew her up.
Yeah, I mean, that's just part of the fun,
So if you guys haven't noticed just now, I was really cramming down my water because I have this. It's called Brunch Muffin Blueberry, and it is a vanilla lemon zest with tart fruit, and it's an ale by Lost 40. Where's my camera? This stuff is pretty tasty, so I'm excited for this, man.
Okay.
I'll save you one for next time you come up, maybe.
Are they paying us for that ad?
They should.
Okay. Well,
but I just want people to try it because it's pretty good. It's a blueberry ale, basically. I thought it was a sour at first, but no, it's an ale. No wonder I'm able to stomach it. I'm not a beer person, guys, but Green Zebra, I forget who makes that, but that's
I am.
that stuff you drink. Does that qualify as beer?
No, but it's cheap and it gets the job done.
Oh shit! All right, man. Well, I think it's let's see. We've got the news here. What else? Oh yeah, we did the thing.
Hey! Sorry to interrupt. Can we move on to something a little bit more substantial? Well, that's wonderful. Are you guys ready to get down with a couple bearded idiots who ramble on about random gaming topics? Well, you're in the right place. It's time for the meat and taters.
There's an echo?
There was probably an echo there. Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. I know where it's coming from. Cool.
What's going on, man? Loud noises.
Oh, wait. Oh, shit. Okay. All right, so that meat and tater segment that we made,
yeah,
I figured out where the problem's coming from. So I will get that audio fixed. Hopefully it wasn't too much of an echo because it's a nice little bit that we put together. But, yeah. Let's keep an eye on the Discord channel. Yeah, man. You guys should definitely check out the Discord because that's a good place to get information. Not ours, but theirs. That's tasty. Doesn't taste like a blueberry muffin, I'll tell you that, but it's good. So, nerd news. I mean, that's over, rather. The meat and taters. Forced content. You ready for this?
Let's get into it. Let me pull up my notes.
I hope Minus is in here. I want Minus's feedback. If he's not in here, somebody go get Minus. Tell him he needs to be in here for this. Because I know how he feels about forced content, and that's he is the inspiration for the quotes around forced, because I know he's a big believer that no content is actually forced, that there are alternatives, there are things that you can do. You don't have to do the content, it's there for you to play, but you don't have to play it. So I know that that's a big position of his, and I have to kind of disagree because there are instances of forced content. There are things that you have to do in order to be relevant in a game. So when we talk about forced content and we're defining forced content, I don't know how else to explain it other than giving specific examples. One example is the Final Fantasy XIV story, right? So if you want to unlock Dark Knight, you not only have to go do the Dark Knight quest, but you have to do every single story quest from day one all the way through the end of A Realm Reborn.
I hated that.
I know, and like we were to a certain point in the story, and you were catching up, and then we kind of went and started playing other things, and
yeah, and I bought the next expansion to knock out the rest of the story to play with everybody. You know, it's not the being forced to play the story is not the issue. The being forced to play the story to be able to group with other people, that's the issue.
Yeah, so like that's tons of suckage. I think that truly is forced. Another forced thing that we see is like Guild Wars 2, the living story. Like in order to get your sky scale, you have to have living world story, which you have to buy, which you have to play in order to get that. It's not just doing the sky scale quest, which is already time intensive. It's actually being forced to do story quests to get that far. Same thing for the core story. Like there's a lot of mastery within the story. It's less forced because I feel like it's more encouraged because they put the masteries in there, because you can get masteries externally, but you cannot get all your masteries if you don't go and actually do the living world story.
Yeah.
Artifact grind from Legion and the new Aetheryte armor or whatever the hell it is and BFA. What are your thoughts on that? I know Reeve would tell us what his were if you were here.
So, I liked it at first. I really did. I thought it was cool. I thought, you know, like, well, you can transmog your weapon. So, you know, I didn't like the idea of being stuck with weapons. I liked it at first. I liked the concept of it. I liked the fact that you had a path that you had to grind out, and you got XP, and you could spend your points into this, into that, and blah, blah, blah. And I think that stems from playing EverQuest back in the day, and that was, in my way, of WoW having their own AA system.
Yeah.
Because grinding that XP, and to be honest with you, I don't remember how you got XP for that. Was it?
You had to go do these missions that were on the map, and it was daily gated.
Okay.
So you couldn't be that guy that's like, I feel like playing for 48 hours this weekend and just grind a bunch of it out. It was daily gated. You had like 4 or 5 missions that you could do.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty dumb. But, you know, I realized, you know, forcing someone to have a weapon and just only that weapon really kind of sucked. Even though you could change the appearance of it, it really sucked. It just kind of it like I said, I thought it was cool at first, then I ended up hating it. And as far as the that armor thing, I didn't play WoW for that period. When was that? BFA? The Aetheryte armor?
Yeah, that's BFA.
Okay. Yeah, I have no experience in that, but it looks like it's the same premise.
My whole issue is like, so and then ESO Sky Shards / Guild Wars 2 hero points. Like these pieces of content and rep grinds too. Like these are pieces of content, like if you're going to put it in the game, why are we gating it for people who, I mean, I can understand wanting to keep people on an even keel, but if I can just bang out a bunch of levels, why can't I just bang out a bunch of levels in my artifact weapon? Why can't I just, you know, actually just have my training points? Why do I need to go around the world and get training points that I just talk to? You know what I mean? Now, like, I never did get that. Go ahead.
You spoke of rep grind. I'm okay with rep grind if it's for a specific goal and it's something that's worthwhile grinding and it's something that you're wanting to work towards to. But if you're forced to do that, and if you have to grind that rep
to get flying and Legion,
I hate that. But
we're gonna let you have flying through every other expansion just by getting to a certain level and buying a book. But you have to do in Warlords of Draenor and in like being forced to do the garrison port thing that you had to do.
Yeah.
Like that sort of shit. It's like we get it, but why? Why is it necessary? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I just, what my main point is, and I'll keep this short, is like, you know, have it worthwhile, you know, like allow me to make that option. I see the reward. Well, I want to grind all this rep for it. and I have fun doing it because it's the reward that I want, not making me do it because I can't do anything else in the game, until I do it.
And
There's
that
a big difference there.
the biggest thing with this forced content, I think is like a time gating thing. Like if you're a working individual and you have 2 hours a night to play and you have to log in to do your dailies, and then once you're done with your dailies, you got to do your daily rep grind. And then that leaves you no time to do anything that you actually want to do, because all this stuff, if you don't do it, you're no longer relevant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've been doing this wrong. Not we, but developers have been doing this wrong probably since the beginning. I mean, again, I could see that being the way you had to execute things back in the EverQuest era, because it was new technology. It was just where things were.
Mm-hmm.
But in a modern time, like, why are we not introducing elements that are allowing you to rep grind via something that feels more akin to a story, or like like going out and doing dynamic missions where your rep is increasing because you're helping, raiding parties of the faction go raid, an enemy mob camp, where it's less of go pick up a quest and then go do it, where like it's more like the Guild Wars thing where you're like I'm running toward a heart, and all of a sudden an event pops up and you go do it, and then you get reputation for it too, because they tell the story of random ass death just showed up and helped us kill some dogs because they were evil dogs.
Yeah. Well, that is one thing I did like about EQ. You had to be careful of what you were fighting,
Mm-hmm.
because you get faction hits.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, and and I do love that aspect of it. Like, well, hey man, I'm in I'm trying to think of a zone, Chardock or whatever. I think there is a faction there, but whatever the case, people will get the point. And you're like, no, I can't kill those mobs because I'm working on this rep for this set award, and I love that,
I think if they added another element to it that was like an RP compelling reason as to why you would want to help this race versus the alternative, you're not just going out there mindlessly killing mobs. Now you're avoiding that because not only because you want to be in their good graces, but because you actually have some empathy maybe toward whatever they're doing or whatever's going on. And then it makes it feel true. It makes it feel like a story and less of a mechanic. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So let's break down, like, why do you think game developers put in these types of content? Why do you think they put in content that why do they force you to do certain pieces of content? So let's start with the big one. Let's talk about the Final Fantasy story. Like, why do you think that is something that was important?
Well, I have no real experience with any Final Fantasy games. Bring on the hate chat. But I do know that all Final Fantasy games are story driven. So I just think that's their stick, and that's like, hey, we want you to do the story and then you're free to go. But it really sucks because it's an MMORPG, but I can't go play with my friends until I do the story. Why they did it, I don't know, but I can tell you why I think other games would do it, and that's because you got your hardworking developers that want you to see all the zones and all the mechanics that exist out there, and sometimes they can interlock tutorials in the story to help you get raid ready or help you do dungeons, like,
right,
dude, Heart of Fear and Guild Wars 2, that picked up tremendously in difficulty. It was no longer be half asleep and run through it. It was be on your toes, because shit will kill you. And so I think that's another element that devs can implement in it. It's kind of a tutorial, and prep you for in-game.
So, I mean, do you think, though, maybe they're trying to force you to do the content, but don't you think the content should speak for itself, that you should want to do it?
I do, absolutely.
But at the same time, so going back to the Final Fantasy subject, God damn, I can't pick a spot. Going back to the Final Fantasy topic, like we're talking like what was it, 200, 300 quests that you had to do in A Realm Reborn?
Yeah,
It was like
that's a grind in itself. You know, you want to talk about, you know, game. If you want to talk about going to old school MMOs and talk about the grind and how people are too chicken shit to grind, well, brother, you're grinding, but in a different way. You're grinding through story. But
you know what? Where the issue I take is like, that's fine. Put the 200 story quests in there. Don't make a player have to do 200 story quests just so that way they can go to the next expansion zones. Like if an expansion comes out, put a little mini story that doesn't necessarily pertain to the main story. It's kind of like an arc that like connects the two stories together. So that way you can do like this side story that unlocks you know, the next expansion zones, so you can go do dungeons and shit with your friends, right?
Right.
Like, I think it's ridiculous that you have to do all of those quests. And at this point, we're talking like we're 4 expansions deep, or 3 expansions deep. You know, we had Heaven's Ward, and then we had, what was the last one? I don't remember what the last one was.
Shadow.
No, I didn't get Shadowlands.
Oh,
or, not Shadowlands. Shadow
something.
Anyway, regardless, a lot of shadow somethings. But anyway, it was like there was all this catch up that you were having to do, right? And then by the time, like, we're talking like you got a couple hours a night. It's taking you 2 months to do the fucking story.
Yeah.
That's 2 months of time gating that is just ridiculous because they want you to participate in a story to the point where like you just want to catch up to your friends. You're not even paying attention to the story half the time.
Yeah, and that's the main thing I was saying. Like, I don't mind that. That's awesome. It's kind of like,
thank you.
It's kind of like Guild Wars 2. I'm still going to do Path of Fire. That's on my next agenda to do. But I can still go group with you in Path of Fire content. You know what I mean?
And I love that about Guild Wars. Is like I'll take 2 days and I'll just hardcore grind story. And I'll grind, you know, an entire living world or whatever it may be. And that's awesome. And then I'll just, for 3-4 weeks, I'll not fuck with the story. And that I love. I love being able to do that. So, I mean, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this. Like, do you feel like forced story? Like, I know it's an MMORPG, but do you think the story elements should be forced upon you? Because, you know, it's like in the real world. I'm not necessarily interested in what's going on with the politics in the state of Vermont. But, you know, I might want to go to Vermont and visit, you know? But I don't necessarily need to be concerned with the politics that are going on there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's like, I appreciate the story. I understand where they're coming from. And I think they are doing it because Final Fantasy is a story-driven game. Final Fantasy XI was very much the same. You had this open world feel, sandboxy, but ultimately, if you wanted to progress to certain things, like if you wanted, like you could get all the way to level 60, but to do the level 60 cap or 50 cap, I forget which one it is, whatever the level break is. And in order to do the level break, you had to go out and you had to do your country's story missions. It was important. You had to do it. Otherwise, you couldn't progress.
I remember that.
So, I mean, that's one way of like making the progression there. But if somebody doesn't want to do that, you know, they can just go to another job and they can level that job to 60 and then do another job to 60 and do all 20 jobs to 60. They've got other shit they can do, you know?
Well, you know, I think what sparked this conversation when we were doing some testing for Saga Leucemia, and we kind of knew what we had to do. We kind of knew the NPCs to talk to, but we didn't have a lot of time. And we're like, hey, you just want to go hunt some animals?
Yep.
And that's what we did.
Yep.
And the freedom of that is all I'm asking for, you know. And again, I'm not like trying to tell developers how to make their game, but if you're going to force me to do a story to be able to group with my friends, I don't like you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that, because the whole point of playing an MMORPG is to group with your friends.
Yep.
Or, you know, it's an MMO. Like, I don't know how else to say it. So that's oh man, it's just such a huge turnoff. And I really like Final Fantasy XIV. But man, just it's like they don't get it. You know, like I get it that they want us to see the story, but like, bro, I want to play with my friends. Let me play with my friends. It's an MMO. Sorry, I'm done.
Well, what about, all right, so let's go back to the topic of rep grinds then. So like mechanic, like, so we talked about story. That's one thing. It's understandable that they would want to force you to do story. It's understandable that they would want to force you to go through certain zones and see visuals and atmospheres and things like that. But what about mechanics? Like, let's talk about rep grinds. So we've talked a little bit about rep grinds already, but why do you think that they gate these things behind a rep grind?
What comes to my mind is, I don't know. So to me, when I think of rep grind, I think of like a useful way to use it, and then a way to use it as kind of stall content.
MMJG, yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like to like give players something to do until new content comes out. That's just kind of the way I think of it.
It's so dumb, though. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it is, dude.
A good game is going to have elements, though, of the traditional classic MMOs, right? Like, that's what they should be doing. They should be putting things for... Okay, so, like, at the end of the day, you're a fucking awesome power chair tech. That's what you do. And every day you go to work. But when you're done with that for the day, you have other things that you can do for yourself, for your enjoyment. A game should have content that once you, like, I don't feel like a rep grind should be a rep grind. It should be like, oh, this new race or this new sect of people, they've been introduced to you. Why am I doing the same exact quest for 4 weeks straight? You know what I mean? And adding one to it every time I rank up in my reputation with them. Why am I not just doing some sort of like interaction with them? Why am I not bringing them supplies that I've picked up from the field? Go ahead.
What comes to my mind is I remember Cataclysm. And you know, you had your 4 main zones where you had to grind your rep.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you got all those reputations up, then you could go to the Fireland zone, which you got more rep quests. And it's like, how, I mean, like, can you not think of anything else, Blizzard? Like, come on, man. Like, you got to find a better way to do this, because this is more of like a second job, which, by the way, I'm okay with. I'm okay with playing an MMORPG that is like work, because I mean that's what it is. You're progressing your character, you're learning new mechanics, you're learning strategies, you know, stuff. That's just MMOs in my opinion. But I mean the rep grind is JG said, man, it's just kind of lazy. But like I said, I'm not against rep grinds. If it's something for like I don't know, a badass armor set, or access to like specific weapons that you need for a build or something like that, something that you say, hey, that looks like a grind, I want to do it because I want that reward. Not something where, hey, you're forced to do this to progress to the next tier of content.
Yeah.
That I hate. Yeah.
See, but that's like the whole, like the old school grind was like go and, well, I don't know, in EverQuest, did you turn in items or did you just kill mobs?
You kill mobs. Like my Ixar monk is exhausted with the Wood Elf city, so I can go chilling with the Wood Elves on an Ixar, and that was back in the day, in that era. That was kind of cool. Like I would leave my Ixar AFK for days when I weren't playing just to brag, you know.
Well, see, my issue is though is like, so it's like personify your character, and your Wood Elves are like, go out there and just mass murder, annihilate everything, and we might like you at the end of the day. Like I don't feel like that's the proper execution. It should be go raid this particular opposing faction's things. We're gonna send a raiding party with you. Bring back supplies. you know, and then while you're out in the world and you're grinding or you're questing or you're doing whatever you're doing, you encounter a messenger, and then, you know, you get a little mini story, and maybe they have like a pool of dynamic stories that take place, or just something small where like you know, you're not going out there and saying, I'm gonna grind this rep by just killing a bunch of mobs. You're like, I'm gonna grind this rep by hanging out in this zone and helping these people fortify their encampments, to gear their warriors, to hang out with them, build my reputation, like legitimately build my reputation.
Yeah.
Not just have a reputation for being a murder hobo.
Yeah. Well, EQ did have some stuff like that where you had to turn in, you know, and you kind of did some of it with me. The crushed bone belts.
Yes. Yep.
You know, every time we turned in those belts and shoulder pads, we were getting rep with the dwarves.
And that's fine. And I think really the biggest issue and now is WoW, because a lot of game companies have gone and they're like, oh, this is how you need to get rep. It's just by grinding these mobs. You just kill things and you run dungeons and you do daily quests. And like JG said, this shit started with dailies. Like, dailies are stupid. Like, why are you time gating me? Like, I can log in and I got to log in 5 characters, do 5 quests, and then in a week I'll be at the next reputation level and I can get 1 more quest, and I got to do those 6 quests for the next month. And then I can get to the next level, and then I can do 7 quests for the next 2 months, and then I can finally buy that item. Now, it's dumb. Like, I should go there and be involved in their culture, right?
I mean, it's to the point to where my wife would be like, I would come home and she'd be like, you got to go do your dailies, don't you? I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? So I would literally get on WoW on the weekdays, do my dailies, and just get off, because I would have to do all my dailies. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go play this game to have some fun. No, I got to go do my dailies because
it's a chore.
I can't. Yeah, it's a chore. There you go.
And the thing is, man, like, if you could just go immerse yourself in their environment. So Saturday, maybe your wife goes and she goes to see her parents for the weekend or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you're chilling. You got a whole Saturday to yourself. You can game for 16 hours if you want to. Well, guess what? You're limited to 5 reputation quests. You can't just go hang out with them and just hang out with them for an entire day, max out your reputation because you've built up this reputation with these people as being this hero that's helped them overcome the odds, and then next weekend move on to a different, you know, race and help them out. So, like, I don't know. Like, it really comes down to the gating. Like, the gating thing is just, it's dumb. And the thing is like, what some of these games have do, particularly WoW, is they've made it forced content. You have to do that rep grind, like the Nightfall back in Legion. You had to do that.
Yeah.
And if you missed a day, you were a day behind, and you couldn't make it up.
Nope.
Like, I mean, there were certain ways I guess you could, like, you could kill things for minimal experience or rep and stuff like that. But again, I don't agree with that. I like the idea of going and, you're killing things, but it's because you're there to go get some supplies that they stole from one of your caravans, not because you want to just go murder them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm kind of partially okay with that. I'm kind of partially okay with you know, you missed an item night hold. Well, you got to make up for it. I'm okay with that because that's what keeps the players playing. But I'm just not okay with being locked to do it. You know what I mean?
Like, you should be able to do it on your own time, not on Blizzard's time.
Yeah, because again, it's you know, it's not something I really want to do. You know?
Yeah.
Like, one time's fine, but you know, and I think they eventually made it a countdown. But
and that's another thing. Games need to start doing this shit where they have lineage. You know what I mean? Where there's a lineage that passes down, where if you make an alt and you've already done this ridiculous rep grind on another character, you should start off, like, instead of being, you know, neutral or whatever, you should maybe start off at honored or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're the daughter or the son or, you know, a friend of a friend of a friend's uncle's friend, sister's cousin's brother. But you're associated with the hero that went in and put in all that effort.
I agree with that only because that incentivizes you to play other classes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's like, well, you know, because dude, the Nighthold is a great example. I did that on my shaman. I did that on my warrior, and I did that on my warlock.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, that's a long ass. That was a lot of hours, you know. And if they would have just started me off half, you know, of the faction rep, what word am I trying to think of? Ranked up halfway at least.
Mm-hmm.
I still would have spent hours and hours doing the rest of the rep grind.
And that's what they should do. They should give you, like, you've already got some renown with that culture, with that society. And then on top of that, anything you do for them is just re-solidifying the fact that you come from that lineage, or you're being vouched for by your original hero. Thus, you get increased gains, rep gains or something like that, you know? To make the process quicker. Because I did the same thing. I did it on 6 different tunes. And it was like, fuck this, man.
I know we kind of get away from theory crafting sometimes, but how cool would it be if you're on your main character that you grinded all that rep on, and if you started killing the wrong mobs, all your alts started taking a little bit of damage from it too. Like, hey, your freaking cousin Joe over there is wrong people. We're gonna punish you for that. That'd be kind of.
Yeah, I love it because, you know, guilt by association. I dig. But then that says, okay, well, what if you want that one character to be repped up with all like the bad races? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like maybe. I mean, that still makes sense though, right? Like if you're
decisions in life, man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about hero points and soul shards. No, wait, what were they called? Skill shards. No, sky shards.
Sky shards. You talking ESO?
ESO, sky shards, and Guild Wars hero points. Why do you think? Why do you think they decided to go with that? Like, why is it that you have to go to these places, and you can't even experience the fullness of your class unless you go out and you get these stupid points that really don't prove anything? They don't really prove you know how to play your class, or it's just you just go and talk to them.
You kind of stumped me on that one. I have no idea because it's kind of dumb.
Like, I get, again, go out and see the world. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, like, why they would have that.
Right. But if you're playing Guild Wars, and I mean, I think it's part of the questing system, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if for those who don't know, you know, you got your waypoints and you got your hero points, and it's kind of that way in ESO as well. Where you got to explore the zone, you get a little XP, and you collect shards. I think it's their way of questing. That's kind of it's kind of their take on it. But you posed a question to me, like, why do you think they implement it that way? I don't know.
And I don't, Sarah Lynn, we haven't played ESO in many years, but when we did play, like, was it like 5 years ago? Mm-hmm. When we jumped in, we were playing pretty heavily. I didn't feel like sky shards were optional. I went and did a character in 2 days by dolmen grinding, and I still, once I hit max level, I still had to go grind soul shards or sky shards. So I don't know if it's different now. Maybe they scaled things differently. Maybe I just wasn't understanding. But I did feel like we had to go get sky shards. It may not have been a whole lot, but it was still necessary to get sky shards in order to fully flesh out your build.
I was doing crafting, and you needed those skill points. I hope I'm correct on this, but I believe you needed those skill points to train crafting stuff too.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like in Guild Wars 2. It's optional as well. If you don't want to get both elite specializations, well, you know, you can just get enough for the one, you know.
Or you can just not get any, and just by leveling you can do that. But if you want to, you know, you can play the core. But if you want the elite specializations, you've got to have those extra skill points or hero points.
Yeah. And
so Yeah.
And like you need your elite skills, you need your utility skills, you need, you got 3 specs that you use at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess technically you could get everything that you need and then stop, but
so yeah, I guess maybe that's less forced, but I still feel like it's some sort of gating that is required to stay relevant. Because if you want to be able to do all 3 specs, you have to go get those. And I just don't feel like there's any relevance. Like, I do like the hero points where you have to fight things, because you kind of have to prove your worth.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. But the commune ones and sky shards, they were just, try to get through some mobs, which you could usually avoid just by running through them.
Yep.
And then getting into an area where you could drop aggro, and then you get the sky shard and dip.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, so Sarah's saying if you're heavy into crafting. Well, I think anybody who plays an MMO pretty regularly, crafting is a huge element of an MMO. And yeah, I guess the choice is to bypass it. But if you want to have all those elements of a well-rounded character, you're going to do some crafting too. So I still feel like, okay, so I'll concede here and say that maybe that sky shards and hero points aren't necessarily forced content, but I feel like they are, because every time I get a character to max level and I need to unlock an elite specialization in Guild Wars, I have to go and get a hero point train. And yeah, I don't have to have an elite specialization, but then I'm going to do 10% less damage. I'm going to have less of a skill set. I'm going to be less desired. I'm not relevant. I can go do my own thing and I can get by, but I'm not relevant to the bulk of, group content. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, these things that you have to do to stay relevant. That's the biggest issue that I have. So, So why do you think they do that? So in Guild Wars sense, you said it's just kind of part of the questing mechanic, right?
Yeah, I think it's just, it's they're sprinkled in throughout the world, and you're, getting vistas and waypoints and all this stuff.
Right.
So it's like, hey, go grab this hero point, and you get skill ups. And I think it's their introduction of, hey, when you get to in game, you're going to grind a bunch of these for, I guess you're right. It's really not that forced. But if you want to try different builds, you're going to need all these points to have everything unlocked.
Yeah.
For example, I'm doing Firebrand. I got a PvP build. I want to do the bow build on the Paladin Guardian eventually. I'm going to have to get my ass busy grinding more hero points if I want to do that second elite spec. So,
and the thing is like the character that I just did yesterday and this morning, like, I didn't care about any of that. I don't care about map completion. I care about getting to 80 as quickly as possible so I can shove it in a remote location and open a chest every day and get money, right?
Right.
But at the same time, like, if I still do want to survive to get to that location, or if there are mobs in that location when I spawn in every day, I have to have some sort of viability.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, like, again, it's part of like a questing mechanic. You get experience for doing the hero point. You get the hero point. You get the enjoyment of doing the jumping puzzle-ish type thing to get up to it. You get the enjoyment of fighting and proving your worth. You get the, the curiosity thing where you eat a piece of bacon and it starts murdering you or something like that. So, I mean, okay, I get that. Now, sky shards. I think sky shards, Sarah hit the nail on the head. I think it's just to say, hey, ESO is a huge world. Go out there and see it.
Yeah.
And if go ahead.
The thing about ESO to me was the graphics. I mean, the world was beautiful. And the same goes for a lot of games, but it was my first. So I went from EverQuest to WoW, and then from WoW to ESO. And man, the sunlight, the way the mobs were, I mean, it was just awesome to experience. So I agree as well.
Okay.
Kind of a way to explore it.
My only issue that I had with that really was like, you got to a point, you did this grind, and you're already feeling the fatigue from the grind to get max level, and now you got to go run around for like 6 hours and get all the sky shards.
Mm-hmm.
And I will admit, I had fun doing it when we were doing it together, but when I had to do it by myself, and we were trying to get the mage books while we were doing it, Like when you do it solo, it's
sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, but those make sense though because you're trying to find that knowledge for the Mages Guild. But that was fucking tedious too. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I guess it's not really forced content, but as a completionist in a sense, because I'm not really a completionist, but I want to have my toolkit available to me at max level. I feel like if I want to switch between a thief spec I never use and a thief spec I use all the time, I should have that option to switch to the one that I never use because I have the points. And I feel like you should attain those through the leveling process, which you do in both cases of ESO and Guild Wars. But at the same time, there's still like that added grind of it, which I guess what this comes down to is like, I think Punk is tired of the fucking time sinks in MMOs. Like, let the time sink come from the player. Let it come from the environment and the things to do, not because they have to do something. Sorry, go ahead.
I kind of agree with you there. I don't mind a time sink, but I want it to be towards something I want. Not because, like we're talking about, forced content. Not because of something I have to do, but because of something I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like make me want to do it.
Yeah, you know, like I said, with Saga, you know, we logged in, we did what we wanted to do, and we were fine. You know, if we want the extra bells and whistles, yeah, we got to do the quest, which is no big deal. But I missed that, and I think a lot of old school MMOs had that. You know, you had the freedom. You could play EverQuest and never do your epic quests and get raid gear and be just fine. If you didn't want to go through that long journey and fight people for spawns and stuff like that, you know, you didn't have to. You had the freedom to do what you want, you know, and that's my whole argument of this topic tonight. So
yeah, so what we're saying, devs, for those of you who are listening, give us content that is not obligatory, that doesn't make us feel like we have to do something, that makes us want to do that because we are wanting the rewards, not just in the sense of like a one little thing, but make that the reward actually like
mean something
and give us a way to attain that reward in a meaningful capacity, not a time sink mode, like time limited dailies and things like that. So yeah, so I think that kind of wraps it up a little bit. I wanted to break down a little bit. I wanted to break things down and kind of talk about, you know, what are some things that people can do, like the developers can do to you know, do that. But I think we've kind of sprinkled that in throughout the conversation. I want to wrap it up with, though, what do you think, what kind of impact does this have on the player-dev relationship when content is put there? Like we've already kind of voiced our frustrations, and I think that's clear. But like, what does that do? Like, do you think it makes people stop playing a game, or do you think it makes them just behave a little differently? Like, what's your take? Like with the Final Fantasy story aspect, like how did that impact your outlook on the game?
That was a different animal to me. I could not play with you guys until I did the story that you guys had already done. You know, and you know, it'd be cool if they would implement, you know, like where your friends could do the story with you, but they didn't. They made it a solo experience. So that's where I have issue with. But what was the next question?
No, that was it. Just like, how did it affect like your outlook on certain things? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you like flying where you had to get rep? Because I can talk a little bit about the garrison system and the heirloom rings. I'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, did it change your outlook? Did it make you when you've had experiences like this? Did it make you want to play any less or anything like that?
I think it made. I think it took away from the passion of wanting to play, not just with me, but with my friends as well. Because, you know, if I don't get, you know, a solid amount of game time in for that week, well, you know, I'm holding up the group, you know, holding up the group, Larry.
Yeah, I mean, we've had an experience with one of our friends who raided with us that was falling behind on the artifacts because he was working so much, and to the point
70 hours a week.
Yeah, he started getting grief from the other members of the guild, and I was guilty of this too because I wasn't aware of the whole situation, for not logging in and doing the artifact dailies to get his artifacts up while we were trying to do heroic and mythic content. And he eventually stepped down from that raid, and like that sucks. Like nobody should have to do that. There should be alternatives. There should be things that you can do. Even if you can't be the main tank anymore, alt tank or something like that. Like, but you had to get your artifact leveled up if you wanted to be competitive. And then at the same time, like you couldn't make up for lost time, which sucked.
Yeah.
Like
you want to make up for lost time, that's more time you got to put in,
Yeah. And with the artifact system, you couldn't do that. You couldn't go back. Or like they did have it where you could have up to wasn't it like up to 3 days worth of dailies banked or something like that?
I don't remember, dude. You know me.
But so like the heirlooms, I had all the heirlooms. I had them all leveled up. I used to love leveling alts, and when they made it where you could transfer your heirlooms to any character just by loading them up and shit, I really wanted to get the rings. And the rings from Garrison. So I went back and I had a pretty solid Garrison. And from when I used to dabble with Warlords of Draenor, because I just kind of super casually played it. So I went and unlocked the shipyard, and I started doing the shipyard. And I found out you had to build your shipyard up to a certain point. You had to go do these dailies. You had to get specific missions that would randomly appear within your shipyard in order to get these rings. And I just felt like that wasn't something that I could work toward. It was just something that I had to rely on RNG and a lot of work and wasted time. And I didn't like that, but I wanted those rings. And what it did is it made me not really want to play my alts anymore because I didn't feel like I was maximizing my XP gains,
Yeah.
So I was less inclined to do the thing that I loved so much, which was go to a random server and roll a random character and just level it in my free time because it was what I enjoyed doing. So because I was missing those rings, I stopped doing that.
Right.
So like I think it definitely has a negative impact, but I also feel like there's a positive impact too because it makes you feel invested. Yep,
it truly does. I mean, it's kind of a hard situation. I in a lot of ways, I'm about forced content. In a lot of ways, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
If the reward is worth it, and as long as I can group with my fucking friends, I'm good.
Right.
Bro, I can't figure out how to way to send you a message, but I have got to take a leak because I've drank too much beer, so I will be right back.
Okay, bro.
Sorry, man.
You just can't handle going longer than an hour. Yeah. F in chat, maybe? I don't know. How do these streamers do these things? But anyway, I'm really excited to kind of see how these indie devs take this and they go forward with it. I think it's really interesting to see some of the concepts like with Saga of Leucemia. It's kind of like this, you start off as a nothing and there's these systems in play where it's a matter of just putting the grind time in to go out there and just do it. That's the biggest thing if I can't play for a week because my grandmother's sick and I have to travel to Florida and I'm gone for a week, I shouldn't be restricted to my enjoyment. When I come back, if I want to stay up for 24 hours and play catch up, I should be able to do that. And I should be able to do it in a meaningful way. And that's kind of my take on that whole thing. It just should be meaningful. It shouldn't be forced content, should not exist. The content should be optional in a way, but also encouraged so that way people want to do that content. I think it's something that's super important is to engage the player to the point where you say, hey, you want to do the content. You don't have to do the content. You want to do it because the rewards are there. Do we have any voicemails or anything, man?
Yes, we do, from our boy Drax Attacks.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, I think, do you have any other final thoughts on this topic for this evening?
No, I mean, like I was saying before I had to leave, I'm sorry about that, guys, but I had to go.
You just need a catheter and a bottle, dude.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. Not really. But, no, it's I don't mind forced content as long as the purpose is useful to me. But how can you, I mean, that's such a subjective topic. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people aren't going to want the same things that I want, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, just make forced content optional, you know?
Yep.
Like, don't gate us. Don't force us to grind this rep. What if we don't even care about the dang dark elves or whatever, you know? What if we don't want to please them? You know, that's just kind of where I stand on the whole thing. Like, make it optional, and if it's a grind, if it's specifically rep grind, make it useful, man. Like, make it something that I want to do, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's just kind of my main takeaway on it.
Well, that's a good discussion, guys. Thank you, everybody, for the contributions in chat. That was a nice conversation. I feel like there's still more that needs to be said, but I don't know what more to say about it. I think, it was a good conversation. So why don't we move on to this last segment and hear what Drac has to say. You ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Oh man, this is such a juicy rant topic.
I'm sorry,
Hello?
but the person you called
Hello?
has a voicemail box that has not been set up yet. Goodbye.
Oh, what the hell, guys? Voicemail, texts, and assholes.
Woo! Voicemail, text, and assholes. Fortunately, we haven't really had any assholes. So
No. I kind of was looking forward to the assholes.
Yeah. I was looking forward to assholes. Like I wanted to censor people and like not play their clips, but then talk about how much of a jerk they are.
Yeah, that would have been kind of fun.
So what's Drac have to say?
I haven't read it yet. So Drax, I hope you didn't say anything you didn't want said. So here we go. Forced content. If you mean like forced to group or raid so you can see and complete certain content, then I'm all for it. Group game means solo players don't get to do everything. If you mean forced content like keying for raids, I'm up for some of that, but don't make it stupid, long, or hard. I'm looking at you, Wildstar. I think the whole keying, in quotations, mechanic needs some new spins on it. We need to do better than this. Love you guys, Drax Attacks.
Yeah. I
kind of agree with him on the keying for raids, because that was kind of, that was kind of a big deal, you know. But again, that is something, and that falls in the category of, hey, I need to do this to do the raid or to do the next tier of content. But, I mean, if you're a raider, then you want to do it. You know what I mean? And anyone that wants to play in-game, they want to do that. So that forces a community to bond together for a common task and to do it. So
here's my thought on that, though, bro.
Okay.
So my thought is, like, why? Like, I can go to a bar and be like, hey, random guy, you want to help me out with something? I'll give you $500 to do it. And it's, you know, something simple. He doesn't need to have the skill set to do it or whatever, right?
Right.
I'll give you $500 to help me move my house this weekend.
Okay.
Like, you're not a professional mover. You didn't go, you know, been doing that for years, whatever. This is just a shit example, but like, why can't I go and just get a random dude to go raid Black Temple? I've got the key. I went and got the key. I need bodies. Why can't these bodies just join me?
Well, on the contrary, I think it's kind of like a tutorial. You know, when you want to do, I don't know if you want to call it progression, but this forced content to get keyed to do a certain raid, you're going to encounter some difficult mobs. So I think of it as like a training exercise for that content.
Now I could see that, where you introduce certain mechanics that you'll see in a raid. Like, I think that kind of makes sense. But like, WoW was guilty of doing the thing where you had a rep grind first, and then you had these stupid story quests that weren't even very hard. And it's like, what if you don't even care about the story? Like, what if you just want, like, some people play MMOs for the pure mechanical nature of them.
Yeah.
They don't play them because they care about the story. They just want to make a character that does big dick DPS and go break shit. So yeah, I guess what what Drax said, it kind of hit, like, it's right there. Like, if you're going to do the keying thing, make it so it's not so tedious and pointless, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I also feel like I should be able to pick up Joe Blow off the street and offer some incentive for his big dick DPS because he's a mechanical type player and he can go with us and just wreck shop, you know?
Yeah, but it does kind of suck when you want to pick up Joe Blow and he hasn't done the quest. I mean, you can go take Joe Blow to do the quest, but you've already helped 5 other people do the quest, but you're having to do it again for Joe Blow. That kind of gets old. I will agree with, but like I said, if it's done right, and if it's kind of like a stepping stone, a tutorial, if you will,
Yeah.
Like, you know, these are some mechanics that you need to work on to get into the content.
Well, they could incentivize it too, right? So Guild Wars has got this thing where, like, when you do certain story missions, you get this new ability. And I noticed, like, when you're fighting mobs in certain Living World stories, you'll get this ability that you can activate because you did the story mission, even though you're in a zone that, like, maybe you skipped ahead several zones, but you can still use that ability during events where it's required. So I think that's kind of cool. Like, maybe Joe Blow can do 100k DPS, but if he goes and he does the story, he can do 105k DPS because he's got this on-use ability that he can use once per encounter or something, you know?
Yeah. I hope the devs are taking notes.
And Dark Arrow says that in Pantheon you're going to have to acclimate, and I think that's a little different. I think that makes sense, right? Because you're just going to have to be in a place and get used to it. Like when I moved from Florida to Arkansas, and I had to get used to the winters because Florida doesn't have winter because Florida sucks. Like I had to acclimate. My whole family had to acclimate, so that makes sense. Like if you have to acclimate to the raid, that makes sense. But we're running up against time here, guys, so I think we're going to go ahead. Any rants?
No rants.
No rants.
So if you want to get your rants in for next week, the number is 725-333-2285.
Hey, Def, what's that number again?
725-333-2285. But yeah, call in and just, I mean, even if it's about your Monday at work, you know, if you want to talk about Lazy Susan, give us a call and let us hear it, man.
Yeah, if you work in management, you want to tell us about your Karen experiences, we'd love to hear it, you know. It doesn't have to be game related. So keep in mind, guys, you know, Battle Axe is, we've kind of shifted a little bit from specifically talking about MMOs and games. And we're kind of open to other topics too, particularly, you know, nerd related topics, you know, if you want to call us nerds, but you're just fun nerd culture related topics. So if you've got a funny story from work, and it's not necessarily, you know, anything that just doesn't necessarily pertain to whatever we're talking about for the evening, we still want to hear it. Like, and again, let us know who you are. If you shoot us a text, please leave us a voicemail. We want to hear your beautiful voices. And, you know, let us know what your experiences are. If you got a rant that you need to get off your chest, like if you checked out this game and it's something that we've never talked about and we've never heard of it, and you just want to be like, fuck, this game's fucking shit. Like, do it. Like, how do you do a rant again, Def?
You just hit record. In this case, you just call the number, you wait for the beep, and you just hold the phone away from your face and you just start yelling and raving and talking about what pissed you off. You know, it's really quite simple.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear that. And of course, as always, guys, if you would like to support us, we would love for you guys to share our content. Let other people know that we exist. We have a lot of regulars in here, and we really appreciate you guys showing up every week for the show. We really would like to get the word out there. We're getting really close to 1,000 subs. I don't know exactly what that means. There's certain things that it's going to mean for the channel, but I'm curious how it's going to affect the algorithm, because it's only going to make the conversation better. That's all it's going to do. So share our content. If you guys have social media, we are out there on Twitter and Facebook, Battle Axe Theater, without any slashes, dashes, spices and slices and dices. I don't know. But check us out, and if you want to join in the conversation or start a conversation that isn't meme lordy, or if you want to meme too, you can. Jump into Discord. That link is in the description as well. And one thing I want to add, which we really haven't pushed lately, is if you guys know of or are newly established streamers or musicians and you're interested in potentially working with Battle Axe Theater to cross-promote content or collaborate on some things, just shoot us a message through one of the platforms. We'd be glad to have a conversation about that. So, anything else you want to talk about, Dev?
Just once again, just want to thank everybody for coming out. We'll see you guys next week, and thanks for the support, thanks for the love, and be on the lookout for some content coming out in the next couple of weeks. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys, thanks again for coming, and we'll see you next Monday.